1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Can you hear me? Okay, cool. Hi everyone. I hope you enjoyed the morning's sessions, and hopefully you enjoyed the sort of humble lunch we put on for you guys. So we're going to go move straight into staff news sessions. There's been a few changes to the lineup. If I just unfreeze the projector. So shortly I'm going to welcome Harriet Dyer to the stage to do her session, and then she has a follow-up workshop in the same place if you want to stay around for that. Jack Green's doing his workshop on sort of support at universities. That's happening in the Martin Luther King room now rather than venue 4. We have Mira Ma doing her talk on self-diagnosis in the KAD room at 2 p.m. The LGBT plus panel has now moved to the main hall, so here, and that'll happen straight after Harriet's workshop. We have a mental health arts and crafts session happening in the Martin Luther King upstairs, and Kate Bifani is doing a session at 3 p.m. as well. And we also have, I forgot to put on the slideshow, we also have Alex Brock doing a talk on sexual violence in the Martin Luther King room at history room. Sorry, Jack is in the history room. Haha, keeping your toes. Jack is in the history room at 2 p.m. Alex Brock is in the Martin Luther King at 2 p.m. But with that being said, I'd like to welcome Harriet. If you want to give a round of claps.
Hello, are we all right? Yes, hello, I'm Harriet Dyer. I am a stand-up comedian with bipolar. But I didn't realise this sorry as well. So last night I'll ramble on for a bit, then I'll tell you what's happening. So last night I gigged in blooming South Wales, and then I've come up here and I'm all discombobulated. And I went to the blooming I rang Megan, hello, and I said, I'm here, but there's a rum festival. I was in Northumbria University. But that sounds fun, doesn't it? Bloody rum festival. Anyway, so I'm all discombobulated, so sorry about that. They're very sweaty. But hello, I'm Harriet Dyer. I realise as well that I look like someone said, wear an outfit that sums up mental health. That's how I roll. And so I've got bipolar, and I found out really late in life. I always had this sense of impending doom, but I always thought it was normal. And then my mum was and dad, they're quite sort of from quite rural areas and didn't think mental health was a thing. And always just said, whenever I said, oh, feeling like all I want to do is I just feel like I constantly just want to end it. They'd always say, oh, Harriet, don't be silly. You're just eccentric. You're just quirky. And I was like, oh, okay. So I just sort of squashed it all down. And then I started doing comedy. And then my debut hour at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival was basically saying, my whole life, everyone's thought I was mentally ill, and everyone kept trying to section me, but I'm just eccentric. And then as I was writing it, and then I was going, the second time they tried to section me, and then I was like, oh, I think there definitely is a problem here. And yeah, there definitely was. And so I'd say comedy is really saved my life in a way. But to be fair to my mother, there were big signs that I was also eccentric, because she said that when I was a kid, I wore an eye patch to school, and all the mothers were gathered around going, oh my goodness, what's happened to Harriet? And my mum was like, oh, nothing, she's just wearing it for attention. And then I used to as well. Do you ever used to pretend you were a giant when you were a kid? You'd be like, oh, I'm sitting on a flannel pretending it's a beach towel. Do that? I'm eating a cabbage. It's a sprout. No. So and as well, I also, Mum said that when I was 5, she found me crying in the bath, saying, I thought I would have grown a willy by now. But I didn't. And then and then when I was at school once, went to the toilet because I always wanted to be a boy. And but I think it was as well because my dad always used to like put me in dresses, and sort of but I always wanted to not wear dresses, so I always thought that I was wrong to not want to wear that. But anyway, then when I was at school, this girl, I went to the toilet, this girl kicked the door in and goes, "I've heard you want to be a boy, is this true?" And I went, "Bless you." And I didn't say bless you for all your sins. I said, "Yes, I do actually." And she went, "Oh," and just walked off again. So I was weird as a kid. I definitely had, and I didn't think that you could. But I definitely had breakdowns like as a child. At one point for a year, I just didn't speak to any humans. I would only speak to rocks. I had these rocks in a little box. You know, like crest when you put cotton wool in the and then you go around the crest. Yeah, I just had these rocks with damp cotton wool with rocks in. I just only used to speak to them. That's not normal, is it? I don't know why Mum thought I was still eccentric after not speaking to a human for a year. And then when I was, you heard that, didn't you? Good. I thought, oh God, I thought I was getting better. I'm hearing the radios again. In fact, is this even? Imagine if this isn't even like a mental health conference. We're just like in a random room, and this is like some sort of what's it called? Not a convention. What's it called? What? Intervention. Yeah, like we've come to talk to you. We're very worried about you. I am as well. Anyway, so then when I was like 12, 13, the doctor wanted to put me on Prozac and all of that. It was difficult, and because I was like abused and all of that when I was younger as well. So there was like a lot going on, and I think I had like a warped sense of, especially like with sex and stuff. I was all very confused, and I made awful decisions. And but I always wanted to be in a relationship. Like from the age of 5, I was like, I want to be in a relationship right this second. And I think because when I was really, really young, my family had like the perfect, like we were like the perfect family. And then my dad left my mum for a man. So he went off, and yeah, we were very surprised at the time. But now I look back, they were... Are you all fucking with me? So, are you all in a WhatsApp group? Like, she looks a bit on the edge, let's turn up, push her off. Just lost her. Just a giant screw. Oh dear. And what was I saying? Pardon? Oh, my dad, yeah. He was, so there were clues, right? This is a clue. He was in a Pet Shop Boys tribute band. That's a clue. I'd say that's a clue. He's called Walter Lancelot Dyer. That's the campus name I've ever heard in all my blooming life. And I found out, actually, that my dad was gay before anyone else did. It was at home. It's completely true. I went home, going upstairs, going to the toilet, proper sassy. And Mum and Dad's bedroom was there, and an Uber dad was in it. So I've looked in to see what he's up to. He's on the computer, and on the computer screen was a man completely naked, apart from Doc Martin boots, right? A shaved head. I say he's German, but you know when you're building a story over the years, how would I know he was German? Do you know what I mean? Legs are spread and a massive hard-on. And I'm like, I'm only 13, and I've gone, Dad, what are you doing? And he's panicked, and this is exactly what he said. He's gone, I'm just shopping for new boots. Just lovely. So my dad left, and all a bit discombobulated, and no one ever fancied me at school. I had a monobrow. I looked like Maggie's arch nemesis in The Simpsons. Looked a bit bit like and I always used to wear Jurassic Park vests, and people didn't want that. But I love dinosaurs. What can you do? Still do. Anyway, that's enough about me. So then I got because I had all this stuff going on, and I made the mistake because I was always told from a young age that mental health wasn't a thing, didn't exist. You were just a little bit different. I had all this nonsense going on in my head, so I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to have to squash all this. So then I just really badly got into, like, drinking. And here's the thing. Did you at your school, when you were younger, have like, a family that used to, like, buy booze? So the parents of the kids that you went to school with used to buy booze for you and get drunk with you. And at the time, you're like, this is so cool. And now you're like, that was very troubling. Very troubling, isn't it? What were they thinking? I remember this girl, her parents, I think they were alcoholics, and they were making money on when the kids were going, oh, can you get me this, this, and this? They'd go, oh, yes, and a little bit for me. I think that's what was happening. And so I went to this party, and I was, 13. It all happened when I was 13. And, and it was awful. No one would talk to me because of the monobrow. And you know when you walk in a room and people have seen you, but they pretend like they haven't. So they're just like that, and you're like, and because all I'd known sort of sexually was all skewed. God, this isn't really light Saturday afternoon chat, is it? I'm ever so sorry. So because everything was skewed, like my views, I'll tell you why else as well. Because when I was 9, this neighbour of mine as well said to me, Harriet, do you want to watch something really good? And I went, yeah, all right. And then we just hid in her wardrobe and watched her brother have sex with his girlfriend. And that was concerning as well. It was weird, and I just didn't really understand what I was watching. So I think there's loads of bits that sort of, made it all jarred for me. Anyway, so I was at this party, and no one was speaking to me, and I necked 2 bottles of that White Lightning. Remember that? Blood. You know you can't get that anymore. No. Oh, you're all like, wait, no, that's why we're here. It's no bloody White Lightning. Because that's good, though, that there's no White Lightning. I fake teeth because of White Lightning. Yeah, I drank so much, my teeth. And then, oh God, I'm off on so many tangents. So I needed 2 new teeth, and then the doctor said that it would cost £2,000 for 2 new teeth. So my dad said, why don't you ask the dentist in Cornwall? And I asked her, and she goes, because I'm from Cornwall, and she goes, right, it'll either cost £2,000 or for £150, I could just knock them up out of what I've got in my top drawer. Open that top drawer, sweet pea. 150 quid, bloody bargain. Yeah. But in the middle of it, when I had my mouth in the thing, she was like, I think we've run out of that colour. And I'm like, but it was all right in the end. But just don't look too close, I'd say. So anyway, so I was at this party, and I thought that this is awful, and it gets better. But no, it doesn't. I thought that the only way to get people to like me was when no one was speaking to me. I was like, does anyone want me to suck their willy? Awful, yeah, awful. And then, of course, people took me out. And I went into the bathroom with these 2 twins, but I didn't even know what I was doing. So I was just blowing on them, because that's what I thought that you were supposed to do. And it was awful. But then, because I was all so sort of troubled, I still wanted a relationship. And then, I'll tell you that bit after. So then and the parents at the party, I then left the bathroom, was sick into an empty box of Heineken, stumbled out the door, and then fell asleep under a lamppost. And no one checked whether I got home all right. And then I woke up surrounded by 8 swans. That looked after me far better than everyone at the party, to be honest. Bloody hell. So it was really sad. And then the next day at school, I decided to write a letter to one of the twins asking him to be my boyfriend, because nothing says long-term relationship when you've just sucked off his bloody brother. And then he read my letter on the bus in front of everyone. And then I was like an absolute laughingstock. And then, because my name's Harriet Dyer, and then everyone just called me Dyson for the rest of the for the rest of the school year. And it just really upset me. And it's only now when I look back, because I always thought, especially when I was like trying to figure out my mental health, I always saw these these big pinnacle things as what were the problems. But now looking back, now there were all these little things that were definite problems. Even something small like always wanted to be in a relationship, and because I'd just ask everyone, excuse me, will you be my boyfriend? And everyone would be like, no, you're very strange. We've heard that you're very good friends with all the swans. And so go hang out with the swans. So even just constantly being told no to because you're not good enough all your life, I think that has, and even now doing comedy, it's very networky and schmoozy and constantly wanky, like constantly like, oh my god, I'm amazing, and I really struggle with that. So I can never say, come to my show, but don't be disappointed. I'll always sort of have to put sort of like undersell myself afterwards, and I think all of that stems from that. Anyway, so all this was going on, and I wanted to leave Cornwall because I found it was becoming quite toxic. Is anyone here from like a small town? And yeah, and it's like, is it like, pardon? Oh goodness, yes, yes. Yeah, so I bet you're like, oh, cry me a river, Harriet, this is nothing compared to what. Well, yeah, because did you ever watch the children's TV show Bernard's Watch, when he just like stopped? Because I always feel like that's what going back home is like. It's like I've just stopped to stopwatch, and then I think I left home like 10, 15 years ago, and then when I go back, I just start it, and nothing's ever changed. Everyone's like, oh, I'm having an awful problem with Richard, and it's like, you were having a problem with Richard 15 years ago. Get rid of Richard, please. Yeah, and I think some people are happy like that, but I think it's because they don't know. Tissue. I thought, what is that? I thought it was a dove. Be brilliant. Yeah, because I think some people are scared, innit? Because in Cornwall, people either never leave Cornwall or they save up their whole lives to take a holiday to Devon. That's what it's like. And I always used to say to my mum, I'd be like, oh, don't these people want more from life? And mum was like, well, no, you can't get angry with people for just being content. But I always think, there's so much more out there. A whole new world. Anyway, so I wanted to leave Cornwall. But here's the thing. I didn't realise that when you leave somewhere that is troubling you, you can go wherever the bloody hell you want, but your brain's still in your head. So I went because I wanted to go to drama school, because that was one thing that I always found, like performing, I always found was such a wonderful way of not being in your head, because you're like being someone else. But I wanted to go to drama school, but then I couldn't afford to go. So I ended up, my friend Batty, I won't tell you why she's called that. My friend Batty, she said she was going to go to Wolverhampton University. I didn't even know where Wolverhampton was, and I was like, Batty, where you go, I shall follow. So I went to Wolverhampton University. Wow, that was an experience. But it was a miracle, really, because it turned out that at the time, Wolverhampton was the only uni in the country to have a stand-up comedy module, and I'd never thought of comedy at all. And uni, like I said, because my brain was still in me, I'd had an awful time at uni. No one wanted to work with me because I was just so drunk all the time. I'd turn up with an Evian bottle with gin in it, and no one would work with me. And then I turned up one day, and for dinner I'd have a gin jelly. I'd have gin jelly for dinner, and then gin for my supper. That was a real problem. And so I turned up one day, and everyone said, are you ready for the stand-up comedy assessment? And I said, what now? and then I was like, goodness, is there an assessment now? And then this guy said, why don't you tell everyone the story you told at the pub the other day when you died twice? And I was like, it's funnier than it sounds. So I was like, oh, okay. So I got up, waffled on, and then the head of drama said, right, you're an absolute mess and we need to sort you out, but that's what you should do. Like, you're really good at that. And I was like, oh, okay. So then suddenly I had something like to work towards, and that's like what I wanted to do. But then I almost got kicked out of uni because I met this guy and I was like madly in love with him. And he was like, yay, a project. And I just couldn't believe that he liked me. He was like 6'8", I think he was. Because I don't like this. Look at my side profile. It's like a pelican. Pelican? No, that's that, isn't it? Pelican. God, imagine if I had that. Imagine if I had that I don't realise. More like a crane. Not I'll carry on. So, imagine if I wasn't even here, I was a hologram, and I think I'm on stage talking, but you're all waiting for the thing that's coming on, and there's not actually anything happening. God, that would be weird. Anyway, so yeah, like this guy, and I thought it was the one and all of that. But something, have you ever, you know, when your gut's telling you something, and then you're like, no, you're just being silly, but isn't your gut always right? Has your gut ever done you wrong? Apart from if you've eaten something dodgy, but like that way. So I had this feeling that something wasn't right, and he said, oh no, you're just paranoid because of your mental health and because of your childhood and all of this. And I said, okay. And then my best friend, I said to her, I feel something is fishy afoot. And she said, no, this is just your childhood, your mental health. I said, oh, okay. Turned out they were together. They were getting it on, right? Yeah. And the worst part about it was that when I was asking them about it, instead of just going, do you know what? It was wrong what we did. We fell in love and blah, blah, blah. And then I wouldn't have been fine, but it would have been better than they would just kept going, no, this is you and your mental health and da-da-da-da. And I don't condone this, but I punched him in the face. And I punched him in the face, broke both my hands because I'm not a fighter. How about that? Bro, look, my hands are still not right. And then I got arrested from uni in a... Stay in school, kids. I got arrested whilst at uni in my Winsiet pyjamas, taken to the police out, and I got put in a cell with a man with just one tooth. And he said that he invented toothpaste. And I said, I don't think you did invent toothpaste, pal. And he said, well, if you think about it, if someone with lots of teeth invented toothpaste, surely it'd be called teeth paste. You can't argue with that, can you? That was method to the madness. I've really got off on a tangent there. There wasn't even a part of what I've got all these notes. I've only done page 1. No, there's a dinosaur show in here as well. So I go to do a dinosaur show. God, if I got searched, they'd just think I was absolutely barked. Well, I am. But I've got a 6-foot inflatable Diplodocus outfit in my backpack, because I'm doing a show about dinosaurs tomorrow. Oh, God. I know, I just love them. I just love dinosaurs. I even got a tattoo of a dinosaur, I'll show you. Imagine if I was like, no. That's the big finale. Look. Fly high, little dinosaur. No? Okay. People are like, when did you get that? When you were 15? 2 weeks ago, motherfuckers. Heard it. Anyway, so I digress. So I knew I wanted to do comedy. I haven't even told you about the first time. So I left uni, and then Jesus Christ, I've been waffling for, oh dear. Right, so I, imagine if you all just left, that would be so sad. Oh no, just be like every other day. Oh goodness, this lady last, no Harriet, no more stories, just stick to what you need to, no, come on. Left uni, and then I got a job in, see if you can guess, here's a clue, very not dry, no, very not wet. Oh, I've fucked it. Super dry. I fucked it. I've said dry, that's what happened there. Got a job there, and I hated it, really hated it. And because I hated it, they used to make up jobs to keep me amused, because I was, they're like, Harriet, today you are denim specialist. I was like, really? And what I used to do to amuse myself is people would come in and I'd be like, hello, would you like to know a way how to get 50% off clothes today? And they'd be like, yes. And I'd say, brilliant. Just go up to that woman over there and stroke her face. And I always get them to do it to the boss. And she wasn't happy. And with all the like clammy hands, she got impetigo. And she thought it was this girl, Scatty Jenny. Sack Scatty Jenny. Scatty Jenny was #Devo, hit the bottle, and I felt awful. So I confessed and said it was me. And then she didn't even sack me because she said it was noble that I confessed. But I think you should only ever be noble if you've got a lance and a steed. My dad's called Lance. Anyway, and I hated it. I used to cry every day going to work. I was so miserable. I was seeing this guy that was a security guard, and he was a compulsive liar. And he didn't tell me that he was in a relationship. And then one day this woman just burst into the Superdry shop and punched me in the face. And that was really stressful. And I just really wanted to leave, but it was coming up to Christmas, and I still wanted to get paid. So I thought this was what where my mental state was at. My first choice was, I know, why don't you break your arm with a mallet? Oh, no. At that time, I lived with my best friend, and I said, hello, can you please break my arm with a mallet? And bit concerning, didn't need to ask her twice. She just started like whacking me with a mallet as well. I'll tell you this, I got a mallet from Poundland, and when I was doing this show in Edinburgh, I was saying all this, and then this guy goes, that is unbelievable that you could get a mallet in Poundland. And I said, I love that out of all of this, that's what you've got a problem with. And I did get a mallet from Poundland for £1. So she was just like whacking me with this mallet. And after a while, I was like, yeah, you're going to have to stop. Nothing's happening, really. You're just tenderising me. So I was like, right, we'll go into the hallway. I'll put my arm on this table. You run up, jump on it, arm will snap. Job's a good one, right? So I said, is that all right? And then I can't see her. She's down the road taking a bloody run up. She comes in, jumps, but I lose my nerve. So I like move my arm out the way. And then she human cannonballs onto the concrete floor. Oh dear. And then she's crying because she's cracked her kneecaps. She got time off work, I did not. Bloody nightmare. Oh dear. So then I went, well, there was another one as well, but I said, well, just set your alarm and then just come in my room at night. Don't tell me when, just swing at my head with a mallet. But no, she wouldn't do that one. So then I thought maybe I should go to the doctor. And I got upset with the doctor because he didn't listen to me. He never looked at me. Just kept looking at a piece of paper. He's just asking me all these questions, and I happened to answer yes to all of them. So he was like, "Oh my God, I've never seen this before." And I was like, "Well, how can he know properly? Because he hasn't gotten to. He's just read a load of questions and not gotten to know me really." But now looking back on it, it was just probably screamingly obvious, and he didn't really need to look at me because I was just like, "What's happening? Oh my God, there's a mallet!" So yeah, and then I was like, and again I rang my mum. Mum was like, "No, you don't need any drugs or anything. You're just eccentric. Go home." So I went home, and then I got a letter from the doctor. Well, it was basically saying that we think you should go to a psychiatric unit to get assessed, but how they worded it was, we think it's best if you spend a little bit of time away. Like we're off to Centre Parks. Bloody lovely. Yeah, that would have been time away. Time away wasn't getting locked in a room with a woman that thought she was a ghost, so she kept sitting on my face in the middle of the night because she thought I couldn't feel it. So I got put in a unit, but that's it. Right, so back on track. So the first time they tried to section me was I was 17, my dad had left, and then, God, so much more was happening than I thought. I reckon I should write a book. There's a lot, and I haven't even got into, these are just the early years. I'm 72. No. Oh, I thought there'd be more surprise about that. Imagine if I was actually, well, it's because of a hologram, isn't it? They're like, you could be any age, these holograms. What is happening? If I wasn't me and I was watching this, I don't know what I'd think. It'd be like, what is happening? Anyway, so I was 17. My dad had left, and oh my God, I was going out with this guy that was very skinny and very hairy, so we called him the pipe cleaner. And he was from Manchester, and he was very like, you know, yeah, like he's being chased by a electric razor, bit like that. And yeah, he was strange, and he was another one that always wanted to change me. Always, I don't understand when I meet people if they want to get with me, better make it fast. No, if they want to get with me, don't go western. If they want to get with me, now I can't stop wanting to say that. If they want to get with me, like, why would they try and get me to wear a dress when I didn't wear? Why can't they just go for someone? Like, it just always like, why don't you wear a dress? No, I don't want to wear a dress. He always go, why don't you shave your arms? Like, why don't you shave your whole body, you massive pipe cleaner? And yeah, it just wasn't right. And oh god, yeah, and I crashed his speedboat. He had this bloody speed. Anyway, that's his parents owned Rhoda's Clotted Cream. Yeah. I should probably not say that in public. It might be libelous. Well, I know I've just said he's skinny and hairy. I haven't said he was like a murderer or anything. Not, no. Yeah, it wasn't right. And my mum decided we all needed to like recuperate. So we went on holiday to London. Who's recuperating in London? It's so bloody stressful. And I was really run down, but I was staying with Auntie Mavis, who's one of them aunties that isn't your real auntie. Who are those people? I don't even understand what that is. It's dangerous. These people that we're saying are our relatives, and they're not our relatives. It's very bizarre. But Auntie Mavis was actually quite famous at one point because she taught these. Did you see YouTube? Did you see that's YouTube? A YouTube video where a woman was teaching cats opera. That was my auntie. That was my Auntie Mavis. Yeah, they got proper like. Have you seen the one where those goats scream? Ah! You've seen that one? That's funny, but that's not her. No, but she's not a goat. Anyway, so we stayed with Auntie Mavis, and I was like, Auntie Mavis, I can't go on the Millennium Eye or whatever it's called today. I am feeling very ill. And she was like, oh no, Harriet, you've got to go to the museums. So, and then I came back, and then the pipe cleaner was like, I want to see you, it's been ages. So I was like, all right. So I went out, and then I just drinking. I went to this nightclub, and I was in awful pain. Oh, once I thought I woke up the next day, thought I had ringworm because I had all these like rings on me. Turned out I'd just been sticking flaming Zambucas to my body, and they were like circles. Anyway, that's by the by. So went out, had this awful pain in my stomach, so I just kept drinking to stop out the pain. But it turned out my appendix had burst, and I didn't know. So I was just like dancing with a burst appendix. And oh god, it was awful. And then I was like, Ryan, I need to go home. And he was like, no, let's go for a walk along the beach. And I was like, oh my god. So eventually got home, and our mum's good for this weather. Like, so I got in, couldn't even make it to my own bed. So I got in my brother's bed. Well, he wasn't in. I know what you're saying about I was Cornish. And so got in his bed. Don't know where he was actually. And then my mum just sensed that something. Well, probably because I'd just been pulling off the curtains and staggering around like. And she was like, "Oh my God, what is wrong with you?" I said, "I don't know, something's not right." So she called out. So she called out the Kerno doc, which is the Cornish doctor, and he was like, "Nothing wrong with her." And then goes away. The mum was like, I don't trust that man. So then she called the other doctor, but he used to be a vet, and he was just poking very strange places for what the issue was. That was like one of the doctors. So in the end, so this doctor was like, oh my God, she's dying, get to hospital. So got put in an ambulance, and my hands had like spasmed. So they took blood, and they were like, hold the cotton wool, but I couldn't. I was just like Sebastian, the crab. And so I got rushed into surgery. And then this is weird. The surgeon kept asking me when I lost my virginity. That's nothing to do with it, is it? So if you've got an appendix, that's worrying, isn't it, that? Yeah, I still don't know what that was about. Anyway, so then died died on the operating table and was like bajumped and all of that. And everyone says, did you see light at the end of the tunnel and all that? And I didn't. But I did see the tops of the surgeons' heads. And that doesn't make sense, because if I was down like that, being poked around with, how would I be looking down? Ooh. So I think I was being a ghost and almost floating away like a ghost. But my friend said maybe there were mirrors on the ceilings, but I was like, where the dickens is this hospital? I'm in Hugh Hefner's bedroom. With bloody mirrors on the ceiling. I don't think so. So was really, really ill, and then started to get better, and they said that if I ate this jacket potato and kept it down, I would be able to go home. And then I didn't. I was really sick. I said, something's not right. I still don't feel well. And this was after a good few weeks in hospital. So I just don't feel well. And then my mum and brother would call me Stevie. Did you ever used to watch Malcolm in the Middle? And yes, no one ever says yes to that. And I used to be like, I can't breathe. And Mum and Joe would be like, oh, you proper sound like Stevie there. I was like, but I can't breathe. And so I got sent home and then couldn't breathe. The doctor come back out and was like, oh my God, I think she's got pneumonia. So then I went back into hospital, and then the woman forgot to plug me into the not incubator, that's where the babies are. Pick me, please. No, the nebulizer died again. So wonder there's not more wrong with me. But I loved hospital. I absolutely loved it. I felt so safe, and I loved like the routine of it all, and I loved the people. There was this one girl. She was also called Harriet, and it wasn't just me thinking there was another person like she was. And but I was like, there is not going to be another Harriet on my watch. So I called her Hoona, and then she wasn't happy because she had eating disorders and thought it sounded like heifer, but that's not what I was trying to say. And in the end, she was hiding all of her sandwiches under my bed, and then she was very ill. It was really, really sad actually. And she had this talking bagpuss doll, and the batteries were running out on it, and she'd like lean on it in the middle of the night, and I'd wake up to, I love cuddling little girls, and I'd be like, ah. That was distressing. Anyway, so loved hospital, left, and then when I left, because I ended up being there for 3 months, so I think I got institutionalised. And even like the lighting, like going outside and the birds tweeting and all the lighting and all of that, I absolutely hated it. And then I did something really stupid. But really, I just wanted to get back into hospital. And I took all my medication that was supposed to like see me through. And I don't know why I did this, but I washed it down with fabric softener. That's odd, isn't it? It was a bold move. Oh, I really did learn my lesson. No, but it was really bad because I'd had my 18th birthday by that point, so I wasn't because I was in the children's ward before, and now I was 18 and I was just left because now they just saw me as a time waster, and I was just left for 10 hours, and it just felt awful. But then you just sort of plod along, and I genuinely believe that comedies like saved my life, and because I've always been like into like drink and drugs, all that sort of stuff, and now comedy's like my obsession, so there's none of that, and I'm like a proper nana these days. I don't do anything, but I don't want to. I live like by the Peak District. I'm like what's she called? The hills are alive. Just having a lovely time. I'm genuinely like quite content. But I guess what I'm trying to say is it would have been nice, even though I think we all are who we are because of what we've been through and all of that. But I think it would have been nice if more throughout my life people had seen me as things other than just like, she's just parties and da-da-da. And there was clearly a lot going on, and it was clearly like, I remember once at college, this guy was like I said, there was like abuse and stuff. And I turned up to college with 2 black eyes, and the teacher goes, "What happened to you, Harriet?" And I said, "Oh, nothing, just fell over." And then she just carried on with the lesson. And then I was just like, no, I need to stop keeping this quiet. So when actually I've been being abused for ages, and it's really horrible, to be honest, and I don't know what to do. And she just looked at me, and this was in front of all the class, and then she went, "Oh, okay," and just carried on with the lesson, and then it was never spoken of again. And I just wish that more people had been aware of what was happening, and even not stuff like that, even just like mentally. If someone's not talking for a year and they're only talking to rocks, I'd say ask them if they're all right and maybe take them out for a cup of tea. Do you know what I mean? I just think it's important to be aware of each other. And because as well, these days, we're not present in real life. It's all on our phones. So I think so often we're more focused on what's on in the cyber world than our neighbours in the real world. Oh, who'd have thought there was a moral to that story? I'll quit while I'm ahead. Thank you so much. Oh my lord, are you all right? You I don't know what we've just witnessed. I don't either. I've known me for quite a while. Genuinely, I don't really know how to. I'm just going to walk away awkwardly. Genuinely, thank you so much for listening, and all the best in your endeavours. Thank you. That's all right.
Hey everyone, thank you, Harriet. Okay, amazing. Yeah, if you want to stay in here, Harriet will be doing her follow-up workshop kind of in this area here. Alternatively, these are the next options, and they'll be starting in about 15 minutes. So you have time for a coffee break or a loo break or whatever break. You live your life, guys. Cheers.